Crucible, Alta 5, Mog, Aliart 3, Nubaria 1. Man, can't we get some just clankers to kill right now? I'm getting tired of getting squid blood all over my fatigues. Well, sir, we got these bot planets over here outside the major order. We got some planets right there. We got some planets right here. There's a bunch of planets out over here. It's just not part of the MO. We're still doing democracy a great cause right now. Well, the one you're pointing at's kind of hairy, Diver. What do you mean hairy, sir? Hairy. It got some heavy ordnance. We lost some good men and women up there. What's the name of that goddamn planet? Clastia? Classa? All the fucking Clanker planet names are the goddamn same. Crap boy, you know anything about this planet Classa?
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic peak.
Peak?
Oh yeah, about 6 feet.
Why didn't you tell me before? A good peak. There ain't any good peaks in this shit show of a galaxy.
Oh yeah, it's just very hairy in there. That's the Ultimatron's point.
Sir, we can go in there tomorrow at dawn. There's always good offshore breeze in the morning. Yep, we're gonna go ahead and head that way. I can take that planet and hold it just as long as I like. And you can get any place up of that front that suits you, young captain. Hell, a 6-foot feek. Alright, take the Super Destroyer back to Super Earth. You two go together. Bring in my Yater spoon, the 86.
I don't know, sir.
What is it, soldier?
Well, I mean, it's pretty hairy in there. It's the Clanker's point.
Clanker don't surf!
In the morning.
Have you or a loved one yearned for the rice fields? To experience what your great-great-great-great uncle did back in olden times before worrying about mind-controlling squids? Well, I have a loadout for you. So in today's episode of Loadout, we'll be looking at one of my historical Vietnam-esque loadouts. First though, let's give some context for our non-York Supreme viewers out there on Super Earth. What I'm referring to in this episode is the direct US and Australian involvement in Vietnam. Also South Korea, but I'm not really certain on their stuff. From 1965 to 1973, when both countries had actual troops on the ground other than just advisors. Under the concept of communist containment because of the running theory called domino theory, which was the main leading point behind American interventionism in the later half of the 20th century. Though this idea started with our intervention in Korea in 1951, by the time we're getting involved in Vietnam, domino theory becomes this important thing for US head honchos to ensure that none of the dominoes fall. Eventually, this all leads up to the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which for the sake of time, I'm not going to explain too much. There are some pretty good documentaries about that, as you can probably, if you're really interested, because honestly, the fact of how we got into Vietnam is kind of ridiculous, like looking at it from a grand scheme of things. But the USS Maddox enters North Vietnamese waters to grab intel on their navy. North Vietnamese torpedo boats come out to see what they're doing. The Maddox fires warning shots. North Vietnamese retaliate, shooting back at the US ship, but nothing hits the Maddox. This isn't the actual Gulf of Tonkin incident, by the way. That's when the USS Maddox and USS Turner Joy end up making false reports about being under attack to President Johnson, due to either the crew seemingly being twitchy from that earlier incident 2 days prior, as the Maddox later that evening sends this to President Johnson. No actual visual sightings by the Maddox, just complete evaluation before any further action taken. But even after that, it was decided to still get involved in Vietnam. Our loadout today consists of the Adjudicator as our primary. It does 95 damage per shot with medium penetration. It has controllable full auto and has a 30 round magazine, plus 8 spare, or 10 with siege ready, which are with our attachments on it, the foregrip and whatever muzzle brake you prefer. I know for console, horizontal recoil is a lot harder to control, so people like to prefer to have, to deal with vertical recoil. But, I play on PC, so I I can control my aim very easily. But with both of these attachments, it actually makes this kind of look like an Australian L1A2. It's just their licensed copy of the FN FAL, chambered it in 7x62x51 NATO. Also colloquially known as
the bitch,
used by the Australian Special Air Force Regiment, aka the SASR, especially if you get rid of the sci-fi pyramid stuff on the top of the gun. It looks very, very similar to an FAL. Unfortunately, there isn't any good parallels for the US rifles used in Vietnam, either the M14 or the M16 in Helldivers. I mean, the pacifier could be an M16, but like the pacifier looks more like a weird like AK hodgepodge, and the Constitution kind of fits kind of that M16 style, but like I don't remember if it even has automatic or not. And then obviously the Diligence, you can maybe use the Diligence as an M14, I don't know. I'd have to check and see if they have iron sights or something like that, and how the recoil is, because the main reason why I was decided that the Adjudicator has got to be like your FAO, you know, equivalent, is the fact that it doesn't kick like a fucking
bitch.
Your secondary is going to be the grenade pistol, as this loadout's kind of special ops coded. And since basically all the special forces in Vietnam, you know, SEALs, the SASR, and MACV SOG, used the M79 at some point, which, I mean, that's all the grenade pistol is. It's just, you know, a futuristic sawn-off M79. Though in game, the grenade pistol has pretty gnarly drop, so you do need to aim a lot further up, especially if you're having to like shoot basically further out than like maybe 25 meters. It is pretty bad when it comes to actually arcing your grenades. So if you arc them correctly, you can get them in grenade and bug holes and bot fabricators, and you can shoot them into, you know, squid ships if you destroy the shield. And then for your grenades, you're gonna bring frag grenades, which you will have 5 of them unless you have engineering armor, which then it's 7 grenades. As you know, there are some fun war crime grenades like white phosphorus and stuff like that were used during Vietnam, but the closest parallel to that you have is incendiary. But white phosphorus is a whole different beast that really should probably have its own war bond at some point, because white phosphorus is one of those things that's like probably should have been a war crime kind of thing. It's like really bad. Frags are the most common though, so that's why we're going to be using frag grenades, especially for, you know, special forces. They would still use frag grenades. Not to mention there's, you know, the whole historical context behind having frag grenades, you know, with the concept of fragging your superior officer or people you don't like, which was just, you know, finding a good way to unintentionally / intentionally kill somebody because they were pissing you off. Armor is really anything from the Viper Commando's war bond. Personally, I've been using the PH9 Predator, as there isn't really anything the right shade of jungle green other than in that war bond, though the Alpha Commander armor and the Trailblazer armor can kind of fit in if you get a helmet that fits them. Speaking about helmets, there's like no good helmets similar to an M1 helmet that was used by US forces. Obviously, there's nothing equivalent to boonies that most Australians were using at that time too. Though the Hellbent, which is what I'm wearing right now, fits in really well too, especially because it kind of fits that kind of helmet graffiti that a lot of people would have. Now onto stratagems, starting with your supply stratagems. First you want to bring is the machine gun. So it's your starting stratagem, so hopefully I won't need to like explain why it's good. You know, just keep it on that low fire rate unless you like, you know, like an oh shit moment, and you're just, you know, then you can crank it all the way up. Usually that'll, you know, get you covered. It does pretty good damage against everything. The only thing it really has a problem against is, you know, bigger enemies like Hulks and Battle Titans, because it doesn't have heavy pen. You can still shoot down tripods though, so you're good on that part. This is going to be the replacement for the M60, even though the MG43 is a hybrid between the PKM and the MG3. But like, we're going to pretend it's an M60. Though the M60 has a lower RPM than most of the other machine guns at that time, which gives it that iconic chugging noise, which you can emulate in Helldivers by setting the machine gun's rounds per minute, its RPM, down to the lowest setting you can, which is 630. And then to help with those bigger enemies, you want to bring the MLS X4 Commando, which is a laser-guarded rocket launcher, which has 4 rockets and does slightly less damage than the expendable anti-tank, but you have 2 more rockets. It also has a slightly longer cooldown timer, being 2 minutes compared to the 1 minute of the EAT. The Commando has no drop-off and can be directed with how you move your camera, and it can easily destroy bug holes, bot fabricators, squid ships, you know, and those bigger enemies pretty easily, especially if you hit them in their weak points. The Commando is based off the M202 Flash, which you may know from many movies like Commando or Terminator 2, or really any 80s action movie. The M202 is an incendiary rocket launcher, unlike how it is in Helldivers, where it's just a standard anti-tank rocket launcher using TPA shells, which is basically often mistaken for napalm, but it's basically more of a higher, you know, it burns higher. It also sticks a little bit better than napalm. So it tends to basically be used as like something for anti-tank because it just burns through anything almost immediately. The M202 was meant to replace flamethrowers in combat, Though the M202 was being tested during Vietnam, it rarely saw that much combat as it was still in the experimental phase by the time we pull out of Vietnam. Now for offensive stratagems, you have a lot of options, as close air support was a very common thing in Vietnam, to the point where the United States actually dropped more ordnance on Vietnam than we did throughout the entirety of World War II on Germany and Japan and in Korea combined. Meaning there's more ordnance that we dropped just on one country than 3 countries in a general speaking longer spanning war if you combine World War II and Korea together. So I'll just list them off really quickly. You have Eagle Napalm, which is basically just 1-to-1 an F4 Phantom doing the same thing, dropping napalm canisters right on wherever you're shooting at. And then you have the 120 and the 320 orbitals to represent either artillery or mortar fire. Eagle Airstrike for Canberra bombers, which is just basically, you know, is almost the exact same thing as an Eagle Airstrike too. And then Orbital Gatling Barrage for the AC-47 Spooky. Even though the Orbital Gatling Barrage does shoot a lot slower than the Spooky ever would, which it kind of makes me wish that we have a different stratagem that's, you know, maybe a medium pen instead of heavy pen that shoots at the same speed as the Spooky. It is very similar in that kind of way. And the Orbital Gatling Barrage is also pretty good. Also to help you get in the right danger close mood and accidentally kill your teammates for raining down hell on those Clanker scum, I have a playlist of all the commonly heard songs back on the radio from 1965 to 1973. Though it is definitely a little biased to some bands that I like and some bands that I don't like. You know, some bands that I don't like aren't on there, but yeah, it's not like you're gonna notice unless you know, unless you like the same music from that same era, so it'll be okay. I'd recommend trying it out. Honestly, that kind of music does fit Helldivers pretty well. I actually usually listen to it while I'm playing Helldivers because I got kind of tired of the official soundtrack like 50 hours ago. But anyways, on to... You thought it was going to segue into the bot front. No, I'm here to have a shameless plug. Since the last episode it was doing so good, even though I don't really care for it. Literally none of you are subscribed because I know that because the only people that are subscribed are my mom's 10 accounts and some guy named Mark and some other guy named XX Destroyer of Worlds 69420_XX. So, hey look, there's that transition you expect. This loadout worked extremely well on all 3 fronts. The Adjudicator and the Machine Gun are both medium pens, so they kill everything but Hulks and Factory Striders easily on this front, and the Commando can one-shot Hulks if you shoot them in the eyeball. Factory Striders can be an issue a little bit, but with the right stratagems you could bring, which is going to probably be the 120 or the Eagle Airstrike, you know, they do pretty decent at taking out Striders, not to mention the Commando can do damage to them, but you can definitely see the lower amount of damage the Commando has compared to the EAT or other rocket launchers when you're shooting at Factory Striders though. I would bring the Eagle Napalm and the 120 on bot missions, as nothing is immune to Napalm, and the 120 is good against Factory Striders and automaton bases, which with all of the extra explosives this loadout has, even if you don't bring the 120, you should be able to clear out a fortress without ever needing a resupply. Oop! I'm not even fucking Midwestern, why did I type in oop? Anyways. So with this new bot major order, this is like the 3rd time that I've had a new MO drop while I'm making a video. So they fly now. If anything, this loadout does actually better on the new jet brigade because the grenade pistol, which was definitely kind of the weaker, secondary, especially on bot fronts, does really good actually against the flying Hulks, as seen by this footage. I was honestly surprised because I didn't look up anything or didn't figure that. I just figured that out. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot my grenades at it. I'm gonna see if it does pretty decent. Which, from what I can tell, the grenade pistols can actually, take out one of those flying Hulks with only 2 or 3 rounds, which that's pretty good, especially for a secondary. I mean, it's not, ultimatum standards, but if you accidentally brought the grenade pistol, you're still set. Also, you can hit the Hulk's backpack from the front with either machine gun or the Adjudicator. You just gotta kind of control your recoil because it's kind of small to hit. It's a really small area. Not to mention they're gonna be flying towards you, probably trying to kill you. I still don't know how to segue into the other front. Both on normal bugs and predator strain bugs, this clears easily. Machine gun easily kills all of the smaller units and slightly larger units like alpha commanders and stalkers. The commando, if you aim it correctly, can one-shot a charger, but usually it takes level 4 rockets to take one down. Bio Titans, on the other hand, if you aim on the head, you only need 2 to 3 shots to kill them. Meaning I was able to pull off this epic gamer moment on Terminated Scum. Why did I write that in? That's like a lot of epic bacon bullshit right there. In addition, with all the grenades that you have, you can easily solo all types of Terminated hives. So, you know, even the big hives, you have 7 grenades out of your grenade launcher plus the 5 that you already have. So you have 13 grenades. So, and those large bases only have 12 holes usually. That amount of grenades also makes it so doing those missions where you need to destroy eggs very easy too. As all you can do is just aim a little further up, you know, and you can get most of those eggs very easily. The commando can also destroy shaker nests from a distance. Just be careful whenever the bugs are kind of close to you when using the grenade pistol or the commando, as I've gotten jumped before. If anything, predator strain is easier with this loadout due to the lack of chargers and Bio Titans being just very rare. So stratagems I'd say to bring against bugs would probably be Eagle Napalm, you know, same reason. Napalm kills everything. And the Orbital Gatling Barrage. Though you might want to switch that out with an Eagle Airstrike if you're playing against normal bugs, just so you have an extra chance of, you know, killing Bio Titans. Especially if they get 4 of them jumping on you or 4 chargers that appear out of nowhere.
1, 2, 3.
Oh hey look, it's that squid mind control device I was talking about. Oh great heavens! Man, this is like the first time ever since the invasion of Super Earth I've enjoyed killing squids. The Adjudicator 1 in Semi can 1 or 2 tap Footless. It can easily take down an Overseer with little less than a mag, and only needs about 2.5 mags to kill a Flesh Beast. So now imagine that with the machine gun, which has the exact same penetration, but does slightly less damage, but has an extra 145 bullets per reload. The machine gun shreds everything here, including tripods. Has tripods you can just aim for their eyeballs or their legs. You can take out a Flesh Beast and 2 Overseers without needing to reload your machine gun. The machine gun also pops shields and squid ships very easily, allowing you to throw a grenade in or shoot your grenade launcher from a distance into it. Obviously, the machine gun does pretty good against Voteless, though definitely a little bit on the overkill kind of side, so I'd recommend using your grenade pistol or grenades for that, especially because those are very, very good against Voteless hordes, and I feel like a lot of people sleep on them. I mean, obviously people bring the grenade launcher stratagem, but like frag grenades, you know, as long as you, like, unless you need thermite desperately or you need gas for whatever reason, people should definitely start bringing frags more often against Voteless. I'd bring the Eagle Napalm, see above, and the Orbital Gatling Barrage as really the only stratagems you need for squids is for area denial, and both of those do area denial very easily. You know, Orbital Gatling Barrage has basically no cooldown time. Eagle Napalm, you know, is napalm, but this area burns for a while. Okay, that's all the time I've got. I've got to get back to playing Helldivers 2 on my PC. Goodbye!